Welcome to this explainer. Go ahead and close your eyes for just a second and imagine a landscape from over 2 millennia ago. We're talking lush, mist-covered mountain ranges, vibrant forests, and ancient kingdoms where poetry and warfare literally walked hand in hand. This is the incredible world of ancient Sangam Tamil literature. But, in this rich, highly cinematic world, there is one figure that towers above absolutely everything else, both literally and metaphorically: the elephant. Today we're exploring how the ancient Tamils revered the elephant, not just as a magnificent wild animal, but as the ultimate cultural icon, a symbol of power, love, and honestly, the very lifeblood of nature itself.
Okay, let's dive into this. Over 170. That is the number of distinct names the ancient Tamils had for the elephant. I mean, think about that for a second. We might have a handful of affectionate words for the animals we love today, but having 170 distinct names instantly proves the massive scale of their cultural obsession. This wasn't just background wildlife to them. This animal was woven into the very fabric of their everyday language and their lives.
To give you an idea of just how deeply they observed these creatures, look at the word kaima. This is a famous Sangam Tamil term for the elephant, and it literally translates to the animal with a hand. It's just linguistic brilliance. They didn't just give it some vague, mystical name. They used deep, rational observation of the animal's unique anatomy. To them, the trunk wasn't just a nose. Functionally, it was a hand. This level of biological awareness is absolutely incredible for ancient poetry.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because they didn't just use those 170 names randomly. They actually built a beautifully structured taxonomy. Names were assigned strictly by age, gender, and even temperament. So a soft, playful calf, that was a kandru or a pothagam. A young male just stepping into his power was a kayanthalai. A fully mature male built for the battlefield was a kaliru. And the female, the strong matriarch leading the herd, was known as a pidi or muthalai. They literally mapped out the entire life cycle of the animal through their vocabulary. Now, to truly understand how the elephant fits into this world, we have to talk about what I like to call the dichotomy of the beast. Sangam literature is broadly divided into two major pillars, Akam and Puram. Akam is the inner life. We're talking poetry about love, raw emotion, and nature, often set right in the lush Karinji mountains. Puram, on the other hand, is the outer life, the brutal, glorious reality of warfare, kingship, and society. And what's absolutely fascinating here is that the elephant dominates both of these worlds perfectly.
Chapter 1. Akam. Love and Nature in the Karinji Mountains.
And this brilliantly illustrates that inner life we were just talking about. According to the ancient text Natranai 232, elephants weren't seen as just unthinking beasts. They experienced complex, human-like emotions. The poets actually wrote about udal, which is a lover's tiff, between a male and female elephant. In one incredibly charming anecdote, an elephant is so stubborn during this romantic disagreement that it outright refuses to eat sweet mountain bananas. I mean, how relatable is that? It's a beautifully gentle side of these massive creatures.
But, the Karinji Mountains are still the wild, and love was often juxtaposed with raw, untamed power. Ancient poets painted these cinematic mini-stories of the male elephant, the kalaru, defending its territory. Picture this, a majestic male battling a fierce tiger in combat, defeating it, and then, in a really striking poetic visual, wiping the blood from its tusks before tenderly and joyfully returning to its female mate, the pidi. It's this perfect, vivid blend of absolute strength and gentle romance.
However, it wasn't all just romance in the mountains, right? There was real, palpable tension between the natural world and human settlements. Sangam poetry heavily features these vivid scenes of nighttime crop guarding. Lone male elephants would separate from their herd under the cover of darkness to go raid fields of millet and rice. Meanwhile, mountain dwellers would sit awake on high wooden towers, vigilantly guarding their livelihood. It really captures that thrilling, delicate balance of ancient human-wildlife coexistence.
Chapter 2. Puram. Titans of War on the Ancient Battlefield. Okay, so before cannons or tanks were even a thought, there was the elephant corps. These guys were the ultimate ancient siege engines. The texts describe these colossal beasts smashing their massive heads and tusks directly into the ironclad gates of enemy forts. The poetry actually notes how their tusks would be worn down and their bodies scarred from these brutal impacts. In fact, a Sangam king's absolute power and wealth weren't measured by his gold. No, it was measured entirely by the size and strength of his elephant count.
So the crucial point here is, because the elephant was the ultimate weapon, defeating one became the ultimate glory. As the text Purananuru 3:12 flat out states, it is the duty of a youth to slay the enemy elephant. Taking down an enemy's elephant on the battlefield with a gleaming sword was literally the absolute highest benchmark of warrior bravery a young man could achieve in ancient Tamil society.
This cultural reverence for battlefield valor leads us to one of the most emotionally charged anecdotes in all of Sangam literature, found in Purananuru 279. A mother goes out to the chaotic battlefield, absolutely terrified that her son might have died a coward with a wound in his back. Instead, she finds him fallen but lying victorious right alongside the enemy elephant he just defeated. The poem says she rejoiced more in that devastating moment of pride than on the very day she gave birth to him. The elephant really was the ultimate measuring stick for human valor.
And the poets understood exactly what made these male elephants so terrifying in combat. Have you ever heard of must? Texts like the Madurai Kanji document this state, a period of extreme, heightened aggression and temporal gland secretion in male elephants. Long before modern biology came along, ancient Tamil poets precisely documented this physiological state, and they wrote at length about the immense, terrifying struggle the Mahouts, the elephant tamers, faced just to keep these enraged beasts under control.
Chapter 3: Zoological Wisdom and Poetic Metaphors.
Just look at how they use poetic metaphor to describe the animal's anatomy. It's beautiful. They compared the elephant's massive ears to winnowing fans used for grain or to wide lotus leaves. They compared their tusks to blooming canthal flower buds. But here's the kicker. Beneath that beautiful imagery lay real scientific reality. They observed that the elephant flapped those fan-like ears not just to swat away flies, but specifically to achieve vital body thermoregulation. They were cooling their massive bodies down in the intense heat.
And, the poet's keen behavioral observations went even further. They correctly noted that wild elephants rarely lie down to sleep. They documented them sleeping entirely while standing up. Texts like the Parapadal also beautifully document the deep psychology of the animal, highlighting their fierce, unwavering loyalty to their mahout. They noted how an elephant would willingly risk its own life to protect the human who fed and cared for it.
And because they understood that elephant psychology so well, they developed highly strategic methods to capture them, as recorded in texts like the Akananaru. They used a really clever step-by-step taming technique. First, they dug deep, strategically camouflaged pits directly along natural, pre-existing elephant trails. Second, they utilized trained female elephants as decoys. They knew exactly how to safely lure and capture the immensely powerful wild males without ever needing to use lethal force. The elephant was also seamlessly integrated into the everyday economy, but get this, in a completely sustainable way. The Natrinai texts explain how local mountain dwellers, the Kanavars, would harvest ivory. But crucially, this was almost always gathered from naturally deceased elephants they found in the forest. They trade this highly valuable ivory for goods to support their livelihoods. It just shows a very practical, non-wasteful coexistence, where the elephant supported the local economy even after its natural death.
Epilogue: The Ancient Ecosystem Engineer.
Now, what's really interesting here is how far ahead of their time these ancient observations were. In texts like Akananuru and Kalita Kai, poets recognized elephants as actual ecosystem engineers centuries before modern science ever coined the term. During brutal droughts, when the rivers completely dried up, elephants would use their massive feet and powerful trunks to dig deep into the dry earth to uncover hidden water springs. By doing this, they provided water that ensured the survival of all the other wildlife in the forest. They really were the true guardians of life.
Which leaves us with this final, really important thought. Thousands of years ago, the Sangam Tamils looked at the elephant and saw an equal in love, a peerless titan in war, and the savior of their entire ecosystem. They dedicated over 170 names to its Majesty. So, looking at our world today, if ancient poets revered the elephant with such breathtaking depth, how can we carry that profound respect into the future? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through ancient literature. Keep learning and keep exploring.